You guys were so close to just hearing me unload a massive sneeze.
Hello.
Bless you.
Oh man, I got
Happy
everything.
fall.
You ever have one of those
was
sneezes
close.
where it just jars everything in your head region and you feel like there's liquids moving around behind your eyes?
It's like
Go
every
on.
sneeze I have.
Who doesn't want to hear that over bowl of Cheerios?
Yeah, sorry about that. It's allergy season still in the valley. That stuff needs to stop. I'm tired of taking the Claritin. Honestly, I feel like it loses its effectiveness. They say
It
you're
does.
supposed to switch the allergy pills every
Yes.
couple months or so. I'm at the point now where I could eat a Claritin for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and not feel any better.
That's all kind of pills.
Also,
though.
don't do that. Don't.
Do not do that.
Doctors would tell you
Happy
not to.
Friday, everyone. We're finally looking at cooler temperatures.
Yes.
Finally.
Ugh.
Even those couple degrees.
No,
Yeah.
hold on a second, because we're looking at it now, but it's
Oh,
getting into
no.
the mid-90s again next week.
I
We're
know.
just talking about the weekend.
I had 80s in the forecast today, like all week long, and I was like, they
Yeah.
kept inching up and inching up, and then those little stinkers are going to get up to 90, and sure enough, they did. But
like
When you
no,
say
your
it like
children.
that, those little
stinkers.
stinkers. It doesn't bother me quite as much.
you know, if you live in the East Valley, you'll be in the 80s because
Yes.
we're typically a degree or two
Yeah.
cooler than Phoenix.
Oh,
So
the
nice.
urban island
Yeah.
heat effect. No,
Yeah.
because then I got to drive to work every day.
Oh, yes, that is. But if you get in the driverless car,
Waymo. We were talking about that all morning long. So Waymo is now going to get rid of the monitor that they've had in those driverless cars. I'm surprised that the majority of people said they were not comfortable
About
with that.
2/3 of people said they wouldn't get in a driverless car.
Why not?
Oh.
Are you?
Well, listen, this is going to sound super morbid. So,
Oh, dear.
So bear with me.
Uh-oh.
But we all got to go sometime. And if my number's up because I got into the driverless car, well, so be it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want something like that. So, like, I don't like flying, for example, but I fly all the time.
You don't like it?
No, because it's out of my control. Like,
sure.
it's way more dangerous to drive a car than it is to
Right.
fly in an airplane,
Yes.
right? Just statistically. But when I'm driving, I could theoretically avert disaster through my own actions.
Okay.
In the car, or in the plane rather, you're powerless.
Yeah.
You're falling 40,000 feet.
See, I
regardless.
kind of prefer that.
Well, not my fault.
no, I didn't do it.
But that's kind of the way I feel about Waymo. Like, yeah, I'm out of control, but there are a lot of instances in our lives where we're out of control. So, you know, this is the future.
I just think
Whether we like it or not.
driving to work in a driverless car, and I'm just sitting in the back. You know,
Feet
doesn't
up,
that sound
Diet
so
Coke.
great?
Hey, keep it down back there.
it would be glorious. But then I wonder if your employer is going to start saying, well, you're on the clock once you get in the car.
Oh,
Because
don't even with that.
You know, you
You're
can check
right,
your email
though.
on the
Yeah,
way.
you're right.
That's a really good point.
I would just sleep. I would sleep check my
fantastic.
email.
All right, anyway, that's not even what we're talking about on the show
No,
this
it's
morning.
not.
But if you do have opinions about the Waymo situation, hop in the comment section.
Careful, you do.
If this is your first time on the After Show, this is not a typical news program. We're talking about some trending topics, but it's more or less a chance for you to interact with us, and we can all have a conversation together down here in the comment section. So we'll be checking these throughout the show. Let's get to our topic today, because we were talking about this on the program as well. We're just asking if you think schools should ban cell phones in class.
Yes.
There's a place, they're not alone in doing this, but we're just going to use them as the focus of our discussion. There's a school in Alaska that's banned phones in class, and they've seen a spike in productivity, in student interactions, and even the students are on board here. They say that it's better without having phones around. And so more and more schools are starting to follow suit and doing something similar to this. Obviously, you have to do it in a certain way. You have to have an organized system. You brought that up today. It can't
Yes.
just be a hodgepodge of, here, hand me your phone, and we'll keep track
Right,
of it.
and that's the way that they do it at the school in Alaska that they were talking about. There's a little sheet or cubby that they put them in, and then they're passed out at the end of class. Now, I'm surprised that I haven't been in high school for a long time, but back in my
Really,
day,
because you look fantastic.
the brick cell phones.
Yeah.
There were kids that had some cell phones at my school, and
Right.
if you ever brought those out during class, you were in trouble.
Yeah.
Is
They
that
were getting
not the case
confiscated.
anymore?
Apparently not, no.
See, and that's what I'd want to talk with teachers. Is it just very difficult to enforce because the kids are just sitting at the desk and texting, or
I mean, that should just be a rule
Maybe if
anyway.
there's any teachers
your
in the
phones
feed.
should not put your phones away, everyone.
yeah.
This is going to date me a little bit, but I remember when we had the graphing calculators that you needed in high school.
Oh, yeah.
T9
There,
or whatever.
there were
those T9.
tests. There were a lot of teachers were wise enough to take those away from us, even if it wasn't a math class, because they had the capability of storing information on them, and
Yes.
you could
Yeah.
keep notes and cheat that way. And I did plenty of times. I know because I did it. And so, like, I can't even imagine being in high school now where the entire world's knowledge is accessible at my fingertips.
Right. Someone please weigh in if in a typical high school
Yeah.
they let you have your cell phone out. I would
Probably
think
not
that you
out,
wouldn't.
but probably in your possession, right?
Which I think is okay if it's just in the backpack or it's tucked away,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
also turned off.
Yeah.
Not turned off. It's
Silent.
On vibrate,
Silent.
yeah.
Yes. And you're not checking your phone. Maybe like during the class, you can see, okay, guys, 5-minute phone check break, and then we'll get back into everything. But
So Tanner brings up the point that none of us really want to talk about, but is still very much a part of this discussion. It says, what happens when someone comes and shoots up the school?
right.
It's tough to enforce policy just based around the fear of a school shooting. That said, I think that is the chief point that people are trying to make, that in the event of an emergency, whether it's a school shooting or some other emergency, parents want immediate access to their kids.
Absolutely.
But let me play devil's advocate here. In the case of a severe emergency, like a real capital E emergency, like a school shooting, do you want your kids messing around with their phones, or do you want them following the instructions of their teacher, or running for their lives, or doing whatever it is they've been unfortunately trained to do in those situations?
I know. I've been thinking about this all morning because I don't have kids in high school yet, and then this wasn't really an issue when we were in high school. So I still don't know. I mean, I think, yeah, I'd want my kid to have his phone or her phone so she could call maybe 911. The shooter's right outside the door. Maybe that would help police. I don't know. But then at the same time, you're saying it could distract them. because
bad
then
time to
they're
be
like
distracted,
looking
right?
down
Yeah.
and like Instagramming what's going
Yeah.
on rather than like running for cover. So I can definitely see it both ways. But this Demetria says, no, my daughter was able to record another student with a knife trying to attack the dean of students. Afterwards, he thanked her and had her send the video to him and the police. So maybe
But is that something we're asking of our students now, to document crimes that they see? Like
And that's
they're
why you
amateur
should have your
detectives
phone.
now, and that's a reason to have your phone?
No,
I don't think
absolutely
so. I
not.
think that's a slippery slope.
When we go back to like the core basics of this argument, it's just so that they're less distracted. Like all emergencies aside,
Yeah.
because we can all agree that it would be nice to be in contact with our child or our neighbor, whatever it is,
Yeah.
if there's an emergency. Totally get that. Let's go back to where this is all stemming from, which is the distraction issue.
Yeah.
Because phones are a distraction. I mean, between the apps, social media, it's also been a problem with bullying. Having your phone at your fingertips all the time, is that healthy, especially when you're just trying to focus on math?
Yeah.
Or English class?
I mean, in this, I'm going to sound like such a curmudgeon here. I hate how much this conversation dates me, but I think that time away from phones is something that should be built into a growing
Without
young
a doubt,
person's
I'm
life.
right there with you.
And at home, it's
I
not always
agree.
easy to enforce.
Yeah.
I think it's way tougher to enforce no phone time at home than it is in the
whatever.
classroom. The classroom's a structured environment where you have literal people that are paid to supervise and educate. And I know sometimes it's in that order too, not just educate, but supervise, unfortunately. And it's easier to enforce in a school setting because you could say, you are here to learn. You're not here to mess around on your phone.
Right.
Check them in when you come in. You can have them at the end of the day. And you could call the office for any emergency situation, just like generations of parents did. That said, I understand we don't live in an ideal world where like it's enforcement is always going to be the problem. But I just think that scripting time away from phones is healthy. I think taking 8 or 9 hours out of a day where I say you can't stare into this little screen, that's
Yes.
a good thing for young people. It's a good thing for adults.
Absolutely.
I wish they took my phone away at work.
But
That'd be
are-
fantastic.
Are our children not disciplined enough to just put it in their backpack? If
No,
that's the
they're
case,
kids.
Well, if that's
Adults
the case,
aren't
that's
disciplined
That's a
enough.
Not
problem
teenagers,
then. If you
right.
were at school and you can't just put it in there without like twitching out,
Right.
Yeah.
then that's a problem.
Right. Well, and you think about all the other things that schools have had to learn how to enforce over the years. So I think this needs to just be integrated and stricter punishment if it's
Integrated.
not already in place. I don't know. Like I said,
I think it's
if
different
teachers
from
want
this
to chime
stuff.
in,
Tell
like
us.
please do. Please
Or
let us
parents,
know like
let
what
us
high
know.
schools do because yeah.
Nicole says you can have them at lunch, but not in the classroom.
Well, see, and then
You know,
that's
you find a
an
middle
issue
ground.
because then the kids are not communicating with each other.
talking to each
They're
other.
sitting on their phones, and like
Yes.
I'll go to restaurants now, and you know, a lot of times, and I hope I don't anger anyone with this comment,
Right.
but I'll have a younger person as my server, and I just feel like the communication has changed so much, and the service it's just
Yeah.
different. And when I was a server, back in
Back
10
in my
years ago,
day.
it wasn't like that. We were talking, we were communicating, and this just isn't in the restaurant. It's a lot of places. Kids and young people are just on their phones so much, and it worries me about the communication. learning
and
social behavior.
And I think too, we're always like the young people, you know, we always blame the kids.
And
but
I don't
it's
mean to
us.
sound like
no,
that.
No,
Oh,
you
I'm
don't.
worse than them.
You don't.
Yeah.
You're not. It's not you. It's everyone. But that's the thing, is that we lead by example.
Yeah.
Like no wonder they're doing this. So I fail at this all the time, but I try to set up a social media schedule for myself so that like,
yeah, that's good.
Because I have started like my own social media. What do I even call that? Like my own social media thing.
Empire.
On Instagram. Thank you.
Right,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Yeah, I found
That's the word you were looking for.
searching for that on Instagram, and it's hard not to constantly be checking it because I'm starting to build something.
Yeah.
But my kids are all right at my feet. And they're
that's
seeing
all they see.
mom, look at them through a phone almost. Like, you know, and so I've tried to set up like almost a schedule of when I can check social media.
Yeah.
Because I found myself, you scroll once, and then that thumb just keeps on going. And before you know it, you're 20 minutes past and your kid's asking you something and you completely, you know, are just unaware.
Well, not just that, but how many times do you have a second screen up when you're watching something on TV and then you're like, oh, wait, I just missed something really important?
All the
Back and
time.
get
All
this.
the time. We know that it's a big distraction. And so I think it just comes down to we need to be comfortable with putting it down.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
I think it's okay to admit that we maybe don't have a perfect solution yet. And this doesn't have to be black and white, and it's probably case sensitive in almost every school. Like, okay, it doesn't work for these kids, it might work for these kids. But I think just talking about it is probably a good thing. And it's like that with all new technology. Like we have to figure out the solutions. They're not easy. If there was an easy fix, a silver bullet for this sort of thing, then they would already be in place. It's not. And it changes year to year too. Like phones are capable of so much more now than they were 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I just have yet to read a study that says technology is good for you.
Yeah.
And my friend and I think I brought this up earlier, a friend and I were talking about how, you know, today we think it's so crazy that our parents didn't have car seats for their kids.
Right.
I think our kids are going to look back at this and think, you guys didn't have restrictions for phones.
You could text
or
while you
technology."
drove.
Yeah.
Well, but now, my kids will never drive.
Right.
So
right.
so they can text behind
Totally,
me,
you're
right?
right.
Like I just feel like we're going to reach a point within the next 10 years where like autonomous driving is going to be a pretty commonplace thing.
I just wonder what is going to change. What's it really going to be where everyone's going to be, okay, this is what's healthy and this is what everyone's going to abide by? Because we're like the guinea pigs of this technological movement. And we know that it's bad, it's isolating, it's feeding anxiety and depression. I mean, that's the overarching theme when it comes to social media and what's happening with technology in our brains. So what's going to happen? What's going to change?
So Jamie brings up an interesting little wrinkle in this discussion. She says it's a perfect opportunity to teach them phone etiquette. And that's something that I see a lot of adults struggle with. When you're next in line at the grocery store and you're doing this, or when you're at the counter and ordering Chipotle and you're doing this, or you're sitting at a stoplight and you're doing this as I'm laying on my horn behind you, or you're walking in a crosswalk doing this. And it's like, you have to know when it's just inappropriate to be on your phone. You know what I mean? Like that irks me to no end. Like there's obviously tiers of etiquette, and like some things are just like super unacceptable, but like bad phone etiquette is really climbing up that hierarchy, I think, where like I witness it in the real world and I'm like, what, were you raised in a barn? Like what? It's like the equivalent of like someone like opening a piece of candy and just chucking the wrapper into the wind and being like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, don't do that. Didn't your mother raise you better? When people are on their phones like in line and interacting with another human while they're doing this, I'm like, weren't you raised better than this? Cut it out.
It is so odd. There's times where I'll try on like the weekends to leave my phone when we go somewhere just to give myself that break.
Yeah.
But the first 15 minutes are really like, it's almost like you can feel your heart kind of like, where is it? But then after a while, you start to feel really good. Like it's almost free.
It's nice.
But it's first, if you can get through that first like half hour of just almost like, nervousness, like the anxiety creeping in. Yeah, am I missing something? Or like that habit of going down and looking at it when there's an awkward pause in a conversation or it's quiet and you're not comfortable with your own thoughts yet. You typically go to your phone. But after a while, you almost get this euphoric feeling of like, oh, I don't need it. Like life is a little bit better when I look up.
It's a drug, and that's what Elaine says too. Of course, there should be a ban. Kids are addicted to phones almost as bad as drugs. It is addicting, and they've done studies about the dopamine release.
I was just gonna say
when you're checking social media, and it's like that positive reinforcement that comes with likes and comments, and like it's artificial social interaction.
The correlation is almost exactly
Yeah.
what an addict gets from drugs.
Yeah.
But we're still on them all the time. I
So-
hear all this stuff and I'm still on it right there with you.
We ask, you guys deliver. We appreciate that. Danielle says, our school already has a ban in place, and it's been such a positive to our learning environment. Less distractions, more opportunities for students, and less opportunities for them to break the rules regarding phones. Phone calls can be directed to the school phone. Now, somebody brought up an interesting point here. I'm trying to find it again. Jeez. Oh, here it is from Annabelle. So she says if there's a family emergency, the school doesn't need to know everything that's going on in someone's life. It's disgusting how nosy schools can be. I agree with the pouch thing till the end of class. In my school, you're not allowed to call a parent unless it's on a recorded phone. Again, disgusting how nosy they are.
Oh, that's odd.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that argument yet.
A recorded phone. That is very weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I hadn't considered that, like, I mean, the schools, again, I'm so out of touch because we haven't been in school for so long.
I
Things
know.
have changed so much. But when I was in school, they had my basic medical records. They understood if there was a need for like a private emergency that you don't want to tell your classmates about. The administrators understood, or at least the school nurse understood and could get you in touch with mom.
Right.
I guess I never thought of that as an invasion of privacy in any way.
I think it also is really difficult for people to stick to when they're comfortable to get their child a cell phone because, I remember when I was growing up, I didn't get a cell phone until I was graduated college or high school.
Oh, geez.
Not college, high school.
Emma just got her first iPhone 6
I was
yesterday.
the last of my friends to get one, but it was kind of great. Now it's almost like you get them in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. Kids start getting them. They start popping up. Then third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, everyone has a cell phone.
Yeah.
I remember saying, and this is, probably stupid, but I want to do the same thing that my parents did. You don't get a cell phone until you're done with high school.
Yeah, I like the cell phones where it's like just for emergency purposes, where
Yes.
you can like only call your mom and dad or whatever. So
Right.
I don't know what I'm gonna do yet because that's still a ways out. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. I feel bad for my kids if they're the odd one out without the phone, but I want them to experience life and not have their face down in their.
They
phone all the
have
time.
these new phones that, I wish I could remember the company. I'll find it and I'll put it on social media. But it looks just like an iPhone, but all it can do is call and text. Cannot take pictures or send pictures or receive pictures from text messages. The idea behind it is that your kid will appear as though they're up with everyone else.
Yeah.
However, it does not, no apps, no
Won't
social
that
media,
facade
no
be
anything.
exposed fairly quickly,
Yeah.
though? Like,
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
your friends
hey,
are
Jimmy,
gonna
did you
know.
get the picture I sent you? Oh, no, it doesn't work. Sorry.
But I do like the idea of giving them the phone that just, fine, you need a phone? Cool. So you can stay in contact with me. That's always the argument. What if I can't get a hold of you,
Yeah.
Mom? Okay, great. Then we'll give you something that can just get a hold of me.
I mean,
Give
you just made me
nothing else.
realize that there's going to be a huge market for like retro phones within the next
Yeah.
like 5 to 10
You
years.
should have held on to yours.
Yeah, they're going to be like selling these old bricks that only do that, and
Yeah.
it's going to be the alternative, and they're going to make millions off it. They're going to be like, it's going to be like bottled water.
Yeah.
Who thought that you could make money selling bottles of water? Who thought you could make money selling antiquated technology?
I'm so thankful, though, that we were not in high school during the whole social
Oh my
media
gosh,
era.
I know.
Can you imagine?
The bullying's
Oh,
another level. I got bullied on AOL Instant Messenger, and that was bad enough.
Well, I remember that back.
Let
in the day.
alone like actually like living in fear of like what your classmates are saying about you
Right.
on social media. It's
Right.
awful.
It is awful.
I don't know how kids do it.
I don't know. I think we put a lot of blame on the schools a lot of time, and in this one we can also look to parents too to teach their kids at home, like you said, the cell phone etiquette, how they should use it, how they should not use it, when they should use it, and then hopefully that also starts to trickle down into the schools and helps teachers out, principals out. We have a lot of people saying, well, it's going to be impossible to enforce.
I think it all comes from the parents, to be honest. I mean, those
Yeah.
habits, everything that your child is pretty much stems from the home. I mean, that's where the roots start to grow. That's where they learn to be decent, hopefully, human beings. So to put anything on the schools, to expect them to come up with something that's going to, teach them how to not be addicted to their phones is almost silly.
All right, let's take a quick break from this discussion and get to our ICYMI. In case you missed Today in AZ this morning, you missed this. Finally, in other news, there's an online dating option for just about everyone. Tinder, Bumble, Farmers Only, anyone? Now there's one for your dog. It's called Dig Dog, described as a mix of Tinder and Instagram, but again, for dogs. So here's how it works. Pet parents log on and build a profile, because without opposable thumbs, I doubt many canines would be able to. They then follow other dogs in their city, and the app hopes this will lead to owners meeting up together at a dog park. Dig Dog just started beta testing in Knoxville yesterday. It's supposed to go live for all users next month. Quite frankly, if I had a dog, I'm not sure I'd care about the company it keeps. I'd be more concerned about meeting the human on the other side of that equation.
Right.
And not knowing what you're getting into. You're just meeting a complete stranger. You know what their dog looks like, but not them. That's weird. More beta. Yeah, her response was, yeah, that's
Yep.
weird. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Super weird. I don't know if you are into something like this. Let us know because none of us are. But hey, it's good to hear your.
I mean,
opinion.
like, initially when I read the story, I thought it was like a tandem thing where it was like, here's me, and here's
And my
Fido,
dog.
and here's you, and here's little Miss Paw Prince or whatever her name is. I don't know. It's a bad name for a dog. Don't name
No,
a
it's
dog
not. I
that.
love that name.
But it's not that. It's just matching animals. It's like,
How do you even meet up with them?
I don't know. What do? You sit down with your pooch, you're like, all right.
Yeah.
So you like, Terrier's not your type, huh? Oh, a lab? Yeah, a lab.
That's it.
She's a mix. Healthier, live
have it
longer.
down.
Healthier hips. No, is that? I don't understand. Is that how it works?
No clue, and
Okay, yeah.
we'll probably never figure out unless they develop one of those for a desert tortoise.
Oh yeah, congrats on the new pet, by the way.
Biscuit is doing just fine.
Biscuit, the desert tortoise. Did you adopt from the Humane Society?
No, we just found him on the street.
Oh,
Sorry, I love it.
a vagabond.
Yeah,
a wild.
Biscuit?
Oh, just pure lettuce. I mean, I grew up with
I hear they eat a lot.
desert tortoises. They do eat a lot.
Has he tried to escape yet?
Not
Very slowly.
Not right. They do. They
Didn't get far.
They do. They obviously they do escape. He had like one of those little like things over his shoulder. With
He filed the toothbrush into a
knapsack.
shiv.
All right. Do we have time for Fresh and Squeeze?
Producer Courtney says no.
No, we don't.
She says shut up, but then we rolled the video anyway.
Oh, Carrie Underwood goes
Breaking the
viral with
rules.
this girl who performed her hit song "Champion" in sign language,
Oh,
and it's
come on.
adorable.
We love Carrie.
8-year-old Savannah. Take a look. So she made a video similar to this last year, and Underwood caught wind of it. The two united during Underwood's Cry Pretty tour last week.
Oh, this is beautiful.
They both look like they're having a great time.
Gosh, Carrie Underwood, she can do no wrong.
I'm still trying to learn a little bit of sign language at a time, by the way.
Yes, you are.
Yeah,
What
that's
do you
it.
have?
I know sign
Taco Bell.
language.
Oh.
Taco Bell. Where is the Taco Bell?
Oh, that's all you need to know, Paul. That is it.
I feel like that's it. Gorilla.
The gorilla, thank you. Good. Good,
Halloween.
good.
Surprise.
Oh, surprise.
Oh,
All right.
those are impressive.
I don't know much. Just bits and pieces.
Happy Friday, everyone. Thank
Yes.
you so much for watching.
This is yay.
Back to you tomorrow.
Yay!
Not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. Monday, 7:30 a.m. We'll see
Jen
you.
will be here tomorrow.
I will.
Sorry.
See you guys tomorrow night.